Hey guys, welcome back to SJB Radio. I'm Sarah along with
Alexa. Hey guys, just came back from spring break. It was way too short. Should have been longer. A week and a half was not enough time.
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone's really feeling the after effects of break too.
Yes.
Everybody just looks really tired. It's like day 3.
Falling asleep in every single class. Yep.
I've fallen asleep in 2 classes yesterday.
Only 2. Well, that's a record for you. I've fallen asleep in literally every single class for at least 2 minutes, because it's like, you know how you kind of like lean on your hand and you feel yourself getting tired, you're like, no, you're good, you just keep blinking your eyes, and all of a sudden you just wake up and you're like, damn, how long was I asleep?
Totally.
And you're like, dang, how long was I asleep? But anyway, my break was good. Didn't really do much per se. Wish I could have done more, especially because I went to sleep on Monday and opened my eyes and it was Thursday already. So I was like, okay, that went by fast. But yeah, how was your break?
It was pretty good, yeah. It was a little busy, but a lot of time spent with family.
Excuse me, Miss Busybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it was pretty good. But I'm glad to be back in school as our last month and a half as seniors for me and Alexa.
Well, that makes
starts. It's crazy.
I know. People are like having this countdown, 20 more days, I can't wait to get out of here. And I'm kind of like, you know what? Not going to lie. I want to get out of high school, but I'm going to miss the people that I know.
It's
like
making me sad.
Mr. C last week was saying how, this is the last time that all of us will be in the same room together.
That's
if you
right.
really think about it, like all the radio kids, all the media kids, and it was just like that hit me hard. Where it was like, this is the last time we'll all be in the same room together. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't even explain how hard it is to realize that, these last 4 years are over. And then it's like, you're going into college, you're probably going to be living on your own or maybe commuting with your parents, who knows. But it's like, we're literally becoming adults. Mm-hmm. I don't want to start paying taxes. Can we wait? Because I don't want to do that yet.
Yeah, so we've been pretty busy the last few months. First off, last month, me and Alexa are involved in this program that we do through school, the Nora Cornin Presentation Academy. We do mentorship with them. So they actually came to Long Island a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's an all-girls school, so they take junior and senior girls from St. John's, and we mentor these 7th and 8th graders, basically just trying to encourage them to stay in school and really focus on whatever career path they want, because where these girls come from, they're from upstate New York, in Newburgh, I believe it's called, and it's a very impoverished area, ridden with gang violence, and a lot of the girls their age either actually become pregnant and drop out of school or drop out of school because of work. They need to help their parents because jobs are so few and money is even less. So we really just try to encourage them that they can continue their education, and the great thing for them is that they get scholarships to high school, which is really cool. My mentee said that she received a 4-year scholarship to a high school upstate. I'm forgetting the name of it now, but I was so proud of her, and she was like, I really want to help people when I get older, so I want to become a social worker. I was like, you go ahead, girl. I can see you doing that. And it's really great to see how happy these girls are, especially after hearing their stories. I know Sarah can definitely relate that all of us in that room were crying at some point when they came to visit us last March, because they were just explaining some stories about what they've experienced in their homes or in their communities, and I was just like, you would not get any of this from these girls if you really knew them. They are just the happiest group of people you will ever meet in your entire life, and you would have never expected that they had problems in their family, which I won't get into because it's their own personal business. But
it was definitely like a great that one day of just coming together and like what true sisterhood really looks like, I think, and that was so beautiful to see that too. And then also, me and Alexa are involved in the Giana Club here in the school. We're getting ready to go on a trip in a little bit to do a sidewalk rosary at the Planned Parenthood near St. John's.
Yes, so we'll be going, we'll be standing in front of the Planned Parenthood parking lot, and we're going to say the rosary basically as a small way to say, think twice before you think about getting an abortion. I know a lot of people, I think we had this talk before about the pro-life or pro-choice talk, and we both agree in the pro-life choice, and I think that there's a lot of debates on it's the woman's choice, it's her body, she should be allowed to get rid of the child, especially if it was a rape or things of that nature, sadly to say. But at the same time, you also have to think of the child, just because it's not the embryo, I should more say. But just because it's not born yet doesn't mean it's not alive. Just because you can't physically hold it or hear it yet until 6 weeks, apparently. They always say that, oh, well, the heartbeat doesn't start. You can't hear the heartbeat until 6 weeks, but that doesn't mean that it's not still there, right. So that's my viewpoint on it. I did used to have that viewpoint of, I didn't think abortions were okay unless you got, raped or molested or things like that. And then once I went on the March for Life trip in Washington, and we had that group discussion again afterwards, that really intense but good group discussion with all those kids, with all the St. John's kids, about how, you're killing an unborn child, and it's sad to say, but I personally just don't think that it's okay to, kill a human being no matter what the circumstances are. So that's our opinion. So we're gonna do a small little protest today, peaceful protest, and prayer for all the women who are considering and hopefully not getting
an abortion. This is basically just a simple time of prayer, basically just like what the March for Life entails, but just bringing it to the community, which I think is just great.
Yeah, definitely.
To look at it in that perspective.
And of course, Sarah is very excited about getting pizza afterwards. I'm
excited.
Talking about it for the past 3 days. She is looking forward to that pizza.
I always love doing these experiences, and then after just really getting to know people in the group and forming closer. That's been honestly, anything that we do in campus ministry is always fun. Yeah, and also the time where we get to just talk and hang out and just have fun too.
Exactly. So. Yeah. So if any St. John students who are out there listening, don't be afraid to. For girls, don't be afraid to join the Nora Cornin program because you will have a lot of fun. Trust me.
It is amazing. It's such a beautiful experience, and definitely something you should do before you graduate St. John's.
Exactly, and
it's a beautiful thing.
Don't be afraid to go to a coffee house or a Giana Club meeting or a Giana Club event. I know that in the beginning I kind of missed some of the Giana Club meetings, but Father Rob, was still you can still go on the trip, to make sure you get a permission slip and so on and so forth. So, it really is a lot of fun, and if you bring your friends, it'll be even more fun. So. That's it for us today. And we'll be right back with sports.
Welcome back to SJB Radio, here with your co-host Aiden for our Stanley Cup Playoffs segment, here with Billy and Jack. So how are you guys?
I'm doing well, Aiden. How are you?
I'm good. The best part of the season of hockey is here. In my opinion, one of the best playoffs to watch because it's very exciting because anything could possibly happen. So our congrats to all the teams that made it, and let's get to it. So the first round we have Nashville versus Colorado. Colorado just got in. I'm so happy for Nathan McKinnon, but Nashville is hot, and they're like the Rangers when they made it to the Stanley Cup and lost. It's like the next year they're hungry for it, and I feel like they're gonna show it against Colorado. I think they'll win in 5 games.
I have to agree with you. I think Nashville's going to win. It's a great success story by Colorado. After last season, they were disgraceful. I think only had 48 points the whole season. It was awful. So a great rebound by their new head coach and the team. But I'll have to go with Nashville. The only thing I will say is Nashville, even though President's Trophy winners, they rarely win the Cup. It's only happened, I think, 5 times. So it doesn't happen that often. So as we go further along, I would not be surprised if Nashville gets knocked off. But it's not happen. It's not going to happen here. I say Nashville, and I say 6. I think Colorado will give them a little bit of a trouble, but they'll win.
Yeah, Colorado was definitely able to do an amazing thing, especially after getting robbed from the first and second overall first-round draft picks by obviously other teams that made it, like the Flyers and New Jersey. But I don't think they're going to last too long against Nashville. Nashville's too big. They got good goaltending.
All right, so the next game we have Winnipeg versus Minnesota. I think Winnipeg, even though they have a great offense with Scheifele and Patrick Laine. Hellebuck had one good of a year, 40 wins. I think Minnesota has a very in-depth team, and I think they will beat Winnipeg, but I think it's going to be in like a 6 or 7 game series where it's going to come down to the wire. Yeah. So what do you think, Jack?
Well, Winnipeg definitely lacks the experience that Minnesota has, especially after last season. But their second half of the season this year was just unbelievable. I think they're hot, and I think they're ready to go a little bit further into the playoffs than usual.
I'm gonna have to go with Minnesota in this series. Winnipeg, they've had a great regular season, but to me, they're just a little too young, a little too inexperienced in the for right now for the playoffs. I think they'll be even better in the future. Minnesota, they have a veteran coach. They have veteran players that have been in the playoffs for I think now 6 or 7 consecutive seasons. They've been here before. Be a hostile crowd in Winnipeg, definitely. But I agree with Ian though on this part. It's gonna definitely go into a 6 or 7 game series. And I'm gonna go with Minnesota. I agree with him there too.
All right, so the next game, first ever, Las Vegas has made it to the playoffs in their first year with an outstanding year that surprised a lot of people, and they're facing Los Angeles. Now, as a Ranger fan and a guy that's watched the playoffs for many years, as much as I love Las Vegas and I love that team and they're probably one of my top 5, Los Angeles has always had a knack for being in like the lower seed, but going far into the playoffs. So I think I'm going to go with Los Angeles here because of the experience of the team and how good their defensive core is and how good Kopitar has had a great year after a bad 2017 season.
Yeah, I agree with Ian. Vegas, what a success story as an expansion team. I mean, who would have thought they have the second most points in the Western Conference? It's ridiculous what a great regular season they had. But as I agree, lack of experience, I think it's going to hurt them here. The Kings, they've lost some players over the years now since they've won their cup in was it 4 years ago now against the Rangers. But they still have that core group of players that's won 2 championships. Quick, Doughty, Kopitar, Carter, Toffoli, they're all still there. I think the veteran experience, and Ian said too, both times they were lower seeds and they went all the way. So I'm gonna have to agree. I think they're gonna upset. I think you call it upset. They're gonna upset Vegas, and I would not be surprised if we see them in the Western Conference Finals as well.
Los Angeles definitely has way more experience than Vegas. I don't know how well that's going to last them against such a young and talented team like Vegas. But I think LA would just be able to edge them off. But I don't think it's going to last too long. I don't see them going anywhere past the second round, either of those teams, whoever wins that series.
All right, so up next we have Anaheim versus San Jose. When I look at this matchup, they're both getting very old. But I think Anaheim is still better. They still have Anaheim does have some good young players, but then you look at both like all their star players, they're all in their like 30s, almost mid 30s. But I think Anaheim they're slightly better. They have a great depth of forwards and defense, and I think they'll come out of this one. But I think it could go 6 or 7 games.
I'm going to have to disagree. I'm going to go with San Jose. I mean, this series is a virtual toss-up. Anytime the Kings play the Ducks play the Sharks play the Kings. Those 3 teams always are the top and have been the top in the Pacific for many years now. And these series always go 7 or 6 at least. So it's a coin toss either way. I will go with San Jose based on the defense. And I personally, John Gibson, he's a very good goaltender, but he gets injured way too many times. You don't know if he can get injured again. I prefer Martin Jones, so I'm gonna go with San Jose, but at least 6 games. Would not be surprised 7 at all.
Yeah, these are definitely 2 older rosters. They both play very similar style of game. It's going to be a very competitive series. I see it going at least 100% going 7 games, and Anaheim's just going to barely edge them out. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Anaheim in the conference finals again, just because of the bracket that they're in right now.
All right, next we have Tampa Bay and New Jersey. New Jersey with a great season, very surprising after last year playing absolutely horrible. Their goaltenders were not playing well. Their defense was not playing well. They got the first-round draft pick that stole from the Colorado Avalanche and got Hayes Shashir, who's had a successful year. and Taylor Hall with the MVP season. But Tampa Bay has a stacked lineup, and I think Tampa Bay will beat New Jersey.
Yeah, I agree. New Jersey, what a great season that they did have. Taylor Hall, in my opinion, he should be an MVP candidate. I don't think he deserves to be the MVP winner, but I think he'll be a candidate. But Tampa's roster's too low. They've made so many trade deadline moves. It's to go win it this season. Stamkos is finally healthy. He's been healthy for a whole year. This is their chance to do it. New Jersey, they've been flipping around goaltenders. Schneider. They haven't decided on a strong number one yet. So I think Tampa's going to win. I think they'll win easily this series.
Yeah, New Jersey's definitely got a talented roster. We've seen them do magical things in the playoffs before, like not too long ago, like 6 years we saw them make it to the finals. I mean, this is definitely a totally new roster, but I think they're going to play Tampa Bay well, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Tampa Bay's just had too phenomenal of a season. Their goaltending's there, their offense is there. Everything's clicking right now, and I don't think they're going to be stopping anytime soon.
Well, I also think I think Tampa Bay is going to win because of more experience and how well that team has played in other playoffs, and New Jersey is kind of like new, young, so they're slowly getting into it. So I think that's why I think Tampa's going to win.
Tampa Bay has ran into like the Blackhawks in their prime. Like they've seen some of the best hockey teams that we've seen recently. I don't see New Jersey really being able to keep with them, especially as the series goes deeper.
Yeah. So next we have Boston versus Toronto, and honestly, I think as good as Boston has been, Toronto is great because of one reason. Look, they have all those great players. They have great depth on forwards. I think their defense is a little shaky. Frederik Andersen is a great goaltender, but when Austin Matthews left the lineup, they were kind of on a little bit of a losing skid. But when he came back, they just have gotten so much better. I think the chemistry of William Nylander and Austin Matthews is going to be too much for the Boston Bruins. I think they will come up with a win.
I have to disagree. I think Boston's going to win. Boston, they like Tampa. They made so many trade deadline acquisitions to go for it this season. They're loaded from all four lines down, and they, besides having old veteran experienced players like Bergeron, Marchand, Chara, Backus, they have so many young players too now, like McAvoy, for example. And then they have Rask and net. Toronto, again, another great season. They keep improving after 2 years ago being the worst in the league. They've improved last year. They gave Washington everything they can handle, and they've improved even more this season. But I just don't see it happening. They're still too inexperienced. I don't think there's enough consistency scoring on all four lines that will help Toronto in this case. So I'm gonna have to go with Boston just because of more depth on the roster.
Yeah, I have a pretty unpopular opinion on this Stanley Cup playoffs. I have Boston winning the whole entire bracket for a few reasons. Because they have the veterans, they have the rookies, they have the goaltending, and I just don't see anything stopping them. They've won the Stanley Cup not too long ago. They're just a good team. They have Patrice Bergeron, Brad Marchand, Tuukka Rask. They've all seen deep playoff series. They were down 4-1 a few years ago to Toronto in the third period and managed to pull off a win in Game 7 to advance. I've seen them do a lot of great things, and I won't be shocked to see them go to the Stanley Cup final. So, unarguably, they're beating Toronto.
All right, next we have Washington versus Columbus, and I think, Billy, you've actually convinced me, and I think Columbus is going to win this because Washington just has a history of having great regular seasons, doing pretty well. Ovechkin's scoring all over the place. But I really think that Washington is going to do exactly what they always do and choke. I think it might go 6 or 7 games, but I think Columbus has a better roster, and I think Panarin's going to help lead that team. I think Bobrovsky's a great goalie. Plus, Seth Jones had a great year this year, and I think they're just going to edge this one out against Washington.
I remember last year when Washington played Pittsburgh Game 7, we did the show, and we said, I told you this was the biggest game in their franchise's history because they never won anything. This is it for them to go on to finally pass the second round with Ovi, and it was a choke job by them. So I'll take back what I said. This year, this series will be the biggest one of their team history because again, the record of failures that this team has had in the playoffs. Another great regular season by Washington. Ovi's he's not getting any younger. Neither's Backstrom. But I think they're even more vulnerable this year because of the goaltending inconsistency of Holtby, Grubauer. Holtby's not the best candidate he was anymore this season, at least. So I think there's definitely some vulnerability there. I'm gonna have to go. That's why I convinced you. Columbus is gonna win, but this just shows the magnitude. It's huge for Washington. They have to escape these demons. They have to win, but I don't think they are.
Yeah, Billy. I mean, Washington's consistently been the number one team in the Metro for how many years? They're always up there in the fight. They got the team. I could definitely see them losing to Columbus. They're definitely not making it past the second round. As much as I want to see Ovechkin raise that cup above his head, I don't see it happening, at least not with this team they have right now. But I do have them edging out Columbus solely because I just don't think Columbus is there yet. Yes, they have Panarin. Brandon Dubinsky, I'm sure, is going to have Ovechkin rattled the whole series. But I just think Washington's going to manage to pull it off, and then they're going to lose to Pittsburgh in round 2.
All right, my least favorite out of all these games, because I hate both of these teams, the Pittsburgh Penguins versus the Philadelphia Flyers. And I know Billy's going to pick the Flyers because he loves how great they've been playing. But your goalies have to show up. But I also think that it's going to be a very high-scoring series like it was in 2012 because they're both great, high-powered offenses and decent goaltenders that I don't think are going to save that many pucks. But I think Pittsburgh, with the experience and how well they've been playing, and honestly, I think they might have like the Warriors mentality where it's like, we'll get to the playoffs, and then we're going to destroy you once we get there. I think they're going to really make a deep run. I wouldn't be surprised if they win 3 in a row with the talent that they have on that team. But it all depends on how their goaltender plays. So I have Pittsburgh winning this series.
Yeah, Pittsburgh definitely takes the postseason ice with a little bit of swagger. They have a chip on their shoulder. They know they're the best. Even though they're currently not ranked the best, they know they've been there. They've done it. I don't see Phil. It's going to be a great matchup. Battle of Pennsylvania. But Philadelphia, I don't know if they'll be able to produce nearly as much as Pittsburgh does, especially since both teams have the lack of goaltending. It's going to be a fun series, but Pittsburgh's going to pull this one off.
Well, I mean, you know who I'm going to pick, but I think, but in a serious note, I think this year, out of Pittsburgh's cup-winning years, I think they're more vulnerable this season than they've been. They don't have, in my opinion, the defense is not as strong. Besides the top 2 lines, they're not as strong on forwards. They've lost like Nick Bonino, who are key role players. Nick Bonino, Matt Cullen, Ian Cole, Marc-Andre Fleury, even for example, in goaltending. When Murray went down, and Murray goes down a lot, he gets a lot of injuries. Fleury stepped in and pushed them through the first round, and then throughout most of the second round until Murray came back. So that's for one reason why I think the Flyers can win. And I think the youth, in this case, I think the youth will help them. The young kids have been playing well all season. Gostisbehere, Provorov, Nolan Patrick, Travis Sanheim. So I think, and if Brian Elliott is on his game, which is a big if any of whoever plays, Mrazek, Neuwirth, Alex Lyon, if any of them are on their game, the Flyers have a very good chance to beat them. And I think they are. They're going to give the Penguins a hard time. They always do in the playoffs, and I think they're going to pull off the upset.
All right, so now we're going to make our predictions on who we think is going to win the Stanley Cup. I know it's going to be very hard because it's going to be they're a present team, but this team is hungry after last year. And honestly, unless somebody in the West somehow is able to catch up to them, like I could see the only team that could catch up to Nashville is maybe Los Angeles because they've done it before. They've done it to teams that were top in the league and stuff like that, and just honestly just went right past them and went to the Stanley Cup. But I think Nashville is going to win the Stanley Cup because I don't think anybody in the East would be able to go against them and beat them this year. Even though Pittsburgh beat them previously, I don't think they're strong enough. And I think Nashville will just about edge out in the West. And if they make it to the Stanley Cup, I think they will eat up the East and win.
Well, I got to pick my Flyers to go all the way. We have the MVP. We have the MVP on our team. In my opinion, he should win the MVP. He's had a bounce-back year for the ages. Last year and the year before, he was not producing. Last year, he only had 40-something points. And now this year, he's a 100-point player, leads the team in assists and in goals. he's put the team on his back. I think he's put the Flyers in a position now in the playoffs. I think he's going to keep on rolling. Nobody has seemed to stop him right now in the stretch run. And I think if the young defensemen step and continue to produce offensively, I think there's no telling how far the Flyers can go. This reminds me of 8 years ago when they went all the way. It's that young team that never gives up. So I'm going to go Flyers all the way.
Yeah, Flyers are definitely a young team. Claude Giroux, he should be a Hart candidate, but I don't think he will quite deserve it. But I'd have to go with Boston's going all the way, hands down. They got everything, every aspect, full cylinders. They got hot when they need to be, and I don't really see them slowing down, especially with the route that they're going to go. Because I think they're going to beat Toronto in 7, Tampa Bay in 7, Pittsburgh's in 6, and then Nashville in 7.
Okay, so that will wrap up our show. I want to thank Mr. C, Miss Sanchez, and I want to thank Alexa, Sarah, and I want to thank Aiden and Jack for coming on and doing this with me. And we'll see you next week. Thank you.